Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today's video is going to be amazing because I'm super stoked. The Vault of Time or the Abyssal Expedition has returned. Now we are running this competitively, which means we're going to have some tips and tricks in here to show you, as well as the best boss comp that we have seen. Now, one thing to note is if you caught the mail today, there is an update. So we are testing a lot of comps. Vault of Time issue explanation. So it looks like the Treat Spectator is completely out for this game mode. So they are taking him out. He was super broken and of course bugged out in a couple different game modes depending on the comp you were running. This was very, very broken. Now, of course, when it comes to the Vault of Time and being competitive, we want to hop in here. We want to get those tier 3s, and it's depending on exactly where you are within the Abyssal Expedition. And as you can see, we have 1 minute and 40 seconds left on this one. But depending where you are in the Abyssal Expedition or where your account is built out, they do use overall, it uses the martial ratings, which means depending on the level is dependent on the level that you're going to be assigned within the Vault of Time, which I'll show you when we hop in here. And there are some very, very easy tricks to get started. Now, very traditional, like we've seen with the beta version of this, we're going to be running one of two. You can either run the tank spec, which does work incredibly well. I am personally going to be running the tank spec for this Vault of Time. The second one is the warrior spec, which again does incredibly well. When you start thinking of the ranger, when you start looking at the mage spec, you can do them, but they're very, very difficult at the beginning of the Vault of Time, making it incredibly hard to go in here, taking those tier 3s, tier 4s, and so on and so forth. And of course, within the first day, we are trying to gain 4 ranks. That is exactly where we want to be at the end of this day. Now, of course, we're not going to be ultra competitive looking for number 1, but we have 70 really dedicated, solid players in the guild, which is absolutely crazy. Came up with some strategies, tested a ton of the boss trials and the comps. Want to hop in here and see exactly what we're going to get into. And again, I want to show you the team comp that we're seeing, which of course, if you know and remember the last one, it revolves around the draconic version of Gwen, which is the super broken. So you either have team comps or players that have Gwen built, or you have different comps in their entirety, because Gwen is still super, super powerful within this game mode. And of course, this is for the frames. This is the real legit. This isn't the beta. So there we go. So we'll go ahead. We'll see that countdown conclude. Abyssal Expedition will open up. And you'll notice that a lot of players hop in here really quick. So when you were going in here, you see, boom, there we are. First thing you want to do when you hop in here, cultivate this very first one. Now, there's a couple different ways to do this. Now, first of all, you can hop in, you can cultivate, you can see that we are probably the only ones in here. Nope, looks like a couple people are in here. So the first target we're looking for is moving and pathing straight to Enoki. This is where we're going to start, guys. We're going to start moving straight down to Enoki. And now the paths are going to converge. You want to actually combine with anyone that you can. Now the goal here again is looking for tier 3s. So you can see a couple tier 3s right here. This is what we're looking for. And you'll notice that the combat rating on these are green. So meaning it's going to be easy to go through there. So as we get a little bit further, we'll start getting into these tier 4s. Should be yellow, which they are, meaning that we can take tier 3s, tier 4s pretty easy. Now, at the beginning of this, we're going to have one hero and one hero itself. So looking at all of the outlay here, I'm going to put in one hero, and it is going to be, of course, my tank, the awakened version of Lucius. Now, if you have this hero built, it is super broken, guys. If you have a lot of tank heroes in here, they are going to do incredibly well. Also want to slot the beast in here. Now, you'll also notice that it's quiet time. We do have 4 hours to start, and I believe it still shows here. Yep, 3 hours, 58 minutes. So you have 4 hours to start this before the actual counter starts. So what the plan is, within 4 hours, you want to have at least all of your 20 nodes completed. You want all of your teams set. That way they can start accumulating the stamina, which is down here. So in this one specifically, we are going to be putting in the Panda Dumpty. That, of course, is going to go in the big boss comp. And the second one is going to be, and I forget the name of it, or Aurelius. I think it's Aurelius or something close. It is this little dragon one right there. That is going to be our second best in slot beast comp. And these beasts are not going to be used only for the boss comps, which again, we'll talk about in a little bit. So going through here and pathing down, I want to avoid, me personally, the tier 2s, the tier 1s. We are going to avoid these in their entirety And the reason being, we don't want to pick them up or path with them in there and then have to drop them. So I'm going to start pathing down here. And again, we're only going to be using this awakened version of Lucius. And I want to show you exactly how this works. So there we go. It's going to use our stamina. And honestly, I should have went in here. I should have gotten, and I'll show you. So when you start, you can actually start with a relic off of the bat, which again, I apologize, I didn't pick it up in the beginning, but I definitely want to go ahead and pick up my relic, which of course is going to be a tanking relic. You can see they do give you enough blessed essence to pick up a relic in here. I usually go for this one just because of the attack and defense and also the insight in this one. So I'm going to pick up a relic right here. Don't show it again. There we go. We have a relic. Also gave us enough for a secondary relic. So I'm going to go in here. Now this is going to be HP. We have some crit damage resistance. Again, the insight in here. The second one is going to give us, again, some magical suppression. So overall, we can pick up either of these. It's going to go by pretty quick. So there we go, 2 relics. This is going to make it super easy for that awakened version of Lucius to go through here. And of course, guaranteeing that we're getting our 5 stars, or excuse me, our 3 stars every time we're going through this game mode. This, of course, is going to be the farmer. This is going to be the pather. Now, you could use a couple other heroes. There are some that do incredibly well within this game mode. The awakened version of Athalia, if you are going in as a warrior, does incredibly well in this game mode, will work very, very well in pathing. Even thinking of the awakened version of Shmira, another one, does incredibly, incredibly well when it comes to pathing. The awakened version of Brutus, another one that is just an absolute monster when it comes to being able to path through this content. But of course, we're going to start moving down and sweeping down, and essentially all of the players, all 70 of the players within this game mode are going to be centered in going to one pinpoint, which that is the primary thing that we're doing right now. Between 70 players, we want to get them all to the boss in the entirety. That is the goal in the beginning. So once we get path together, you'll see a lot of players will come over as they continue to join. Now, joining right now, you could see we only had about 3 players in. So we are relatively early. I love being in here when we get to kick this off at the very beginning, because I have the ability to path, kind of down and through and then connecting other players to it. Now, when the awakened version of Lucius runs out of his essence, so when we don't have the ability to actually path him any further, we're actually going to deslot him, adding him into another slot, and then continuing to path. Now, looking here at his green, should be able to get through this one pretty easy. 12 million here, 46. Now, we want to make sure that we slow this down a little bit because we don't want a case where he's going to die. Again, that's something we don't want, but as a pather, usually does work pretty well, which you can see. He burns through pretty quick. We have a couple seconds, kind of a leeway in there, and this does give us the ability to continue getting 3 stars. We get some of our stamina back, and this is our first tier 3. Now, within here, you want to make sure Garrison and Elite, you can see we're getting a 20% bonus, which of course goes into effect after that first 4 hours of quiet time. And then when it comes to pathing tiles, so you have these generic pathing tiles that you're following that we've been making. Within the pathing tiles itself, we don't want to end our 4 hours with pathing tiles. That is very important, guys. We want the tiles that are going to give us resources, that are going to provide us relics, that are going to give us everything we need. We want to make sure that we're ending with pretty much 20 tier 3s is the goal. Even right here, you can see that we have 9 of 20. We want to try to get to the point of having 20 tier 3s off of the bat. Because of course, once the quiet time ends, we start accumulating that essence. When we get the essence, we can get more blessed relics, and then so on and so forth. We are going to continue. We want to make sure, and you can see kind of where this path is coming through, but now I'm probably going to go here and then down this way, pick up this tier 3, and then just continue down. And you'll notice, boom, we have a big kind of arc going through already. That's what we're looking for. We are looking for the arc. We are looking to go ahead and build this and get these heroes pathing right through, making sure, again, that we're making kind of a beeline like we are straight for that boss. Now, overall, I do burn through a lot of stamina pretty quick. Again, getting these pathing. And essentially, the way that I look at it is there's a lot of other players that are much, much larger than I am in this guild, even with the combat rating, even with the power that I do have on this account. We have some really big players in this guild, meaning if I'm burning just a little bit more stamina, if I do a little bit more pathing, it is going to work incredibly well because they don't have to. That is something definitely to remember when it comes to pathing. And if you guys remember years ago when we did videos, when we were in casuals, when we took first place in the Abyssal Expedition, I played the role of a pather through a lot of the Abyssal Expedition. We drove and really pushed this a lot. So essentially, your larger players could save all of their stamina in the entirety, didn't have to go through, didn't have to burn it all, because I was using out all of my stamina. I had 1 or 2 boss comps once we got finalized at the end, and that is the point where I put in my strongest boss comps, and of course, didn't have a lot of resources in there. So thinking of this one, we are out of stamina. So as you can see, Lucius is down to 8. We don't have the ability to use any more. This means we are going to drop him out of here. Remember, we have 4 hours for this. So we're going to drop him out of here. I'm going to move him over here. I'm going to do the exact same. We're going to drop Lucius in here. Now we're going to continue the expedition just like we have been, and pathing just like we have been with the relics. He is back up to 80 stamina. And of course, like I said earlier, we're saving all of those beasts. So they are just sitting there. They're waiting for us essentially to use for the boss comp. So it's going to be a while, meaning like the strongest boss comp we have is the boss comp we're going to use at the end of the Abyssal Expedition, which at this point is a multitude of days, possibly even weeks, until we get to that point of using and essentially moving forward with the boss comps themselves. So again, we're going to continue pathing through here. I know I'm going to use a little bit more stamina really than we were looking at, but again, if I can get through some of this content, if we can path through, it's going to make a big difference. Now, when it comes to earlier players, when it comes to players that really don't have the ability to come in here and take a lot of places, when you start building up your blessed relics. So this is probably the most important part. This is going to amplify everything that you have within the Abyssal Expedition as you're continuing and as you're building up these relics, regardless of if you go into the warrior, if you go tank, ranger, mage, support, whatever it is. Once you build these up, you will see, even looking here, the amplification factor that they offer is massive. Now, when you're building out this, pretty much you want to make sure that you have the strongest heroes, the strongest class that you have within AFK Arena. That is what you want to go. And of course, again, when you start putting the power behind it, it's going to make a really big difference when you're building up these blessed relics based on the heroes that you have within here. It really does make a big difference. Now, of course, like I said, if you're newer to AFK Arena, if you don't have any of the heroes built, you can still get through here with the help of the relics, with the help of everything else. I even ran a couple free-to-play accounts, went through here, we got all the way to Prince, we got all of the rewards as a player, even though, again, we didn't have really a built account, wasn't really that huge, but overall, you can still make a lot of progression in here, and it just takes time. When you start building up that essence, when you start making a little bit further, a little bit more progression in here, it really is just about the time. You want to get everything set day one. If you have it all set day one, it makes every other day that you come in here actually super easy, because there's very limited amount of stuff you have to do except on day one. This is the part where at the beginning, you have to get it set, you have to get your hero set, you have to get your formation set. You pretty much want to get everything ready to go through and push all of the content that we have in all of the places that you're doing. Now, also notice with tier 3s, guys, is we are getting rare relics. We are not starting out, and if you look at the tier 1s and the tier 2s, you are starting with common relics. Again, if that's the only one that you can take, you don't want to take anything that is red. You want to stay in the green. You want to go to the yellow if you can. There are a couple that are yellow in here that are a little bit more difficult, especially with one hero right now, not many blessed relics. But you don't want to go into the red. Very, very, very rarely can you ever take a red, including my account. It becomes incredibly difficult to even take a red, and also pay attention to the formations. Right here, I know Screg's going to come forward, going to push Lucius back, going to keep me away from everyone else. I don't want that to happen. I want all of the heroes around me. And of course, we did get poisoned right there, as you've seen. Lucius is just a monster, guys. It's crazy if you haven't built how well he does. Now, last time we ran this, I did run it with the awakened version of Shamira. So that's why I said before, even when it comes to a hero like the awakened version of Shamira, she will do incredibly well within formations. You'll have no problem actually pathing through here and making it very, very easy. Now, of course, remember the big thing in here, and honestly, the number one thing to remember is when you're looking at the Vault of Time is coming in here on a consistent basis. Also coming in here, and when you do come in here, is making sure that you are not being left behind. If you are being left behind, you're going to have a lot of issues. You're going to have to essentially path an incredible amount of this map by yourself, trying to chase other people. Also, when you're making the connections, when you're connecting all of these heroes together, all these players together, make sure you don't break the connection. Almost think of it as a type of game where we have this big connection that's coming down here. If I break this connection before other players have the ability to utilize that collection to actually come lower or stay up with us in general, you are going to leave, again, you're going to leave all of these players behind, making it incredibly difficult. They're going to have to burn through a crazy amount of stamina, trying to catch up to exactly where you are. And of course, as you start getting further into the Vault of Time and it gets a lot more expensive to path, you have to make sure you're keeping those tiles. If I go back here and let's say someone is connected right here, or if I took this tier 1 and I drop it, all of a sudden the path and the connection is dropped in its entirety. And you can see right here, we're trying to get to square. Essence are going to take time. Once it starts accumulating, we'll have some ordinary blessed relics coming up. And then of course, we'll be moving right into night. The goal of this one, I believe, is Viscount, or might be Marquise, that we're trying to get to essentially again this first day. We'll move through here. We'll take a couple more of these tier 3s. But like I said, you can see they're already starting to come down and we are pathing a little bit towards this boss. Want to pick up a couple more tier 3s. Going to have to remove some of these blank lands that are in here. So we'll abandon in its entirety. But we'll continue pathing down. And once they do hit my little trail that I'm making, they'll be able to just continue straight down along my path and kind of leapfrog. That's what we did last time, is when we start moving down, I was taking a tile, another player was taking the tile in front of me, skipping the reset timers, and so on and so forth. We went and kind of pathed a long way down here. And as you notice, as you get closer, these are tier 2s, tier 3s, tier 3s, tier 4s, tier 4s. As you get closer and more a little bit closer to the boss, it starts getting to tier 5s. It starts getting into higher level, essentially higher level settlements that your players are going to be moving into, which again, by design, that is exactly what we want to get into. But for me personally, I might be able to go through 1 or 2 more and I'll have all of my tier 3s. I'll be set with those tier 3s in their entirety, which is exactly, again, what we want. Now look at Peggy in here. Might not get it, which we do by 1 second, guys. We do take that out a little bit. So there we go. Another 3 stars gives me enough stamina for 1 more place. And I'm assuming that people are swooping down here and are going to be, oh, look, that's right, the other side of the river. Look at them pathing over here, guys. Amazing shout out to the guild. Look at that, going straight down. Look, and they're going to come through the water. They're going to connect with me, and we're going to do the exact same. We are going to continue moving straight down here, and you can see some of these tiles we already dropped. I'm going to abandon some of these. We're going to try to pick up some tier 3s like we have been talking about, and just continuing the path right down the road that we're looking for. So pretty cool, guys. Again, this is a game mode that I absolutely love. Going in here, being the tank. Tank also offers an immunity when it comes to later within the Vault of Time, when it comes to the regards to the debuffs. This is a big one with the endurance debuff. Heroes receive this blessing are immune to negative effects caused by settlements. This is big when you're running tank formations a little bit later. And of course, guys, I'm going to again get those 20. So we want to talk about the boss comp. So my boss comp in here is going to be Demia, is going to be one of the absolute primary ones. So I want to hop in here and you'll notice they are broken out by class. So you have to be very, very specific about who exactly you're choosing within here. And I believe Demia is a mage, if I remember. Yes, she is. So there is Demia. That is going to be number 1. I'm going to put Silas in here, which is going to be my number 2. As we notice, they have the immunity, got the healing, also have the attack rating buff. Silas is going to be the second one. Now, the next one is going to be the draconic version of Gwen, which I believe is a ranger. So right there she is, guys. I have her built out, and I have her built out very, very high. Next one we're going to look at support is going to be Rosaline, which of course is going to follow Gwen, pretty broken within a formation. And my final one is going to be my tank and my monster tank, which is going to be Aethys. Now, looking at this boss comp formation, this is going to be slotted in here for the entire Abyssal Expedition, guys. This row, this very first row, I'm going to use as my pathing heroes. This is going to change. Now, once we do hit that final boss, my pathing heroes will go to a boss team, but this first 5 slots, I'm going to use as my pathing heroes. And then as we unlock these down here, they are going to be generated, or additionally, boss slots as well as the beast slots. As we continue to accumulate these and open up additional slots, like I said, we are going to line them and get them ready, all set with the boss formations. And this, again, is going to be my pathing when we're looking at taking tier 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s. I am only going to use these pathing heroes until we get to that final boss. Once we do hit that final boss, all of the pathers do get removed. All of your primary damage dealers do get put in that slot. Then the energy recovery rate starts going. And of course, when it comes to these, it's going to be really, really important to do this because making progression within here is imperative. Even looking here, I believe Lucius is out of mana or stamina again. So I'm going to do the exact same. I'm going to drop them, and I'm assuming that they're coming over, which they are going to connect with me very, very shortly. And of course, a lot of other players that start in different places will be able to, as you can see, pathing, all coming together to a head just like we wanted to, guys. All right, so that is going to do it for today's video. I'm going to continue pathing with Lucius, taking some more of these tier 3s, taking some more of the tier 4s, and going on from there. So I hope this really gave you a little bit of insight to the Vault of Time and the Abyssal Expedition. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.